All right, stop me if you've heard this one before. Gophers lose to Wisconsin in the battle for the X. That's now 16 out of 17 years. There have been a few losses in that group that have been very, very winnable games. Should have won them. You put this one right in there because this was a very, very bad Wisconsin team. And a very, very bad Gopher team, don't get me wrong, but this game, they were basically trying to give you the game, and they couldn't take it. And so that's their season. I don't even know what the bowl season is this year, but I know the Gophers aren't going to win because they finished 3-4, and it wasn't even a good 3-4. Just a terrible season, and this game today was just garbage. I mean, Tanner Morgan, I don't know what happened to that guy. Like, I never bought him as a pro prospect. I mean, there were fucking Vikings fans talking about, oh, we got to draft Tanner Morgan to replace Kirk Cousins. These people were actually saying this shit without irony. He was terrible this whole season, and he was terrible today. If you want to put the loss on one entity, put the loss on him because threw it terrible, pick in the end zone, you can't throw it. And then I never seen a guy who runs away from even the hint that there might be pressure soon. You know what I mean? Like there were a couple plays this game where there was one play where they blitzed, and it wasn't even a good blitz, but Morgan just assumed that it was going to be a good blitz, and he's just running for his life for no reason. Like a second after the ball snapped, and I think he threw an incompletion. And then there were two plays, end of the game, after that ridiculous play where Wisconsin threw a pass when they were just running down our throats 8, 9, 10 yards every run. And they decided, oh, let's have our backup quarterback chuck a deep ball. It was picked off in the end zone. And so we get the ball back. We have a chance, a minute and a half, a couple timeouts. Maybe we can go do something. And I think it might have been on back-to-back plays. Right, maybe it wasn't back-to-back plays, but it was both on this drive. Morgan does that thing again where he scrambles for no reason, and he scrambled outside the pocket, and the lineman has to commit a holding penalty because of Morgan running away for no reason. And then a couple plays later, he basically runs himself into a strip sack, and Gophers got the ball back, but at that point, Flex just you know what, run the clock out, let's go to overtime and see what happens. And what happened in overtime? Well, Morgan almost got through an interception. The guy for Wisconsin had it in his hands and dropped it. And then for some reason, there's football reasons for doing it, but Fleck chose to kick the field goal, and it was a stupid decision anyway because at that point there was no way, barring another ridiculous play call, that Wisconsin wasn't going to just drive it right down our throats and score a winning touchdown. But they go for the field goal, and of course the motherfucker kicks wide left because, hey, it's kickers. We haven't had enough misery related to kicking in this state recently. And, so then Wisconsin obviously gets in easy field goal position, which you basically are at the start of overtime anyway, but, they got it down close, kick the field goal, and they win. And one of the best chances that you're probably ever going to have to win the Axe goes away because, largely because your quarterback, who's supposed to be, a veteran. I was kind of laughing when they talk about veterans in college because no one's there more than maybe 5 years at most. He was just terrible, and he was terrible this whole season. And this was a horrible season. This was not an entertaining season. As a Gopher football fan or follower, I don't know what you take away from this season because you go 3-4, you get destroyed by Iowa, and you blow this game to Wisconsin. Those were the two, games where you could have, taken something, meaningful or positive or significant from this season, and you blew both those games. So, and then you get were the ones you got blown out by Michigan, and then you had that choke job against Maryland. So there's your, and on the good side, you get an ugly win over a bad Nebraska team. You get that win against Purdue that the refs gave you. I mean, everyone knows that there was not pass interference at the end of that game, which gave the Gophers that win. And then you blew out Illinois, who fired their coach. So it's a terrible season. And look, I'm not expecting the Gophers to, have an 11-win season every year, win a major bowl against a major opponent. It's not going to happen. But they took a big, big step back with this season, even though it was just a mini season. And maybe if it was a 12 or 13 game season, things would have been different. If it was a regular year, maybe things would have been different. I mean, Rashad Bateman would have played the whole season, but even when he was in there, he wasn't really getting much because Tanner Morgan sucks. So maybe you would have gotten something more out of a regular season than maybe a bowl. I mean, you would have made a bowl because everybody makes a bowl. I mean, you went 3-4 in Big Ten play. You probably would have had, 3-4 wins against non-conference like you always do. So they would have been in the bowl, but they took a big, big step back this year, and I know they lost some guys to the NFL, and some good players like Winfield and Johnson and Kamal Martin, some of these guys, but you can't take steps back like this, like a major regression. And I know it was kind of a weird season in general, just on the field. Like teams, would look really good one week and look terrible. Like Wisconsin looked great early, and then they started getting beat around, and they should have lost today. But Gophers took a big, big step back this year, and I'm not saying you gotta fire PJ Fleck. I'm not saying any of that craziness. But I think we can hold off on maybe erecting the PJ Fleck statues, maybe outside of the soon-to-be renamed TCF Bank Stadium, because it's hard not to look at 2019 as a fluke right now, because he hasn't done much. Now he won the Axe 2 years ago, and then won a bowl game that year. But I mean, you got to do better. If nothing else, you got to do better in these rivalry games, because he is now 1-7 against Iowa and Wisconsin. Like, you can say, okay, those games don't matter as much as those games don't matter more than any other game. Yes, they do, and they matter a lot to the fans. I'm not necessarily die hard in that way, where we could go have a winless season, but if we beat Wisconsin, it's a great year. No, I don't really look at it that way, but. So you're not gonna have the 11-win seasons every year, but you got to give us something. You got to win. If you're not gonna have top 10 finishes every year, which you're not, you got to win. You got to sprinkle in those wins in the big rivalry games, Iowa and Wisconsin, or when you play the Michigans and teams like that. You gotta beat those marquee teams sometimes, and Fleck's done it to a degree, but it's mostly been confined to one season so far. So, and look, he's only been here for 4 years, and I think to this point he's been fairly successful overall. I mean, he gave us our best year in my lifetime, so I'm not saying fire Fleck, I'm not saying any of that crap, but I'm not even saying he should be on the hot seat. Like if they go out next year and it's a normal year and they go 7-5 or something like that, I'm not even saying that, but I think it's right to doubt PJ Fleck at the moment, because it's hard not to watch these 7 games and think that 2019 was a fluke. Because remember, they were bad for most of 2018 too, until the very end of the season, and then they somehow beat Wisconsin and won a bowl game. But I don't demand this program be elite Big Ten, but you should be what like an Iowa is, or Michigan State, like that second tier type of program. You can't tell me that they can't do that here. I just don't believe it. Why can't they do it here? And maybe they will. Maybe this we'll look at this season, down the road, and this was more of the outlier than 2019. We'll see. I don't even know what the schedule's going to be for next year, because who knows what the hell kind of season it's going to be. But just a really crappy way to end a crappy season that frankly I wish never had happened, because this was not an entertaining season. It just wasn't. Other than watching Ibrahim, I always get that name wrong. Other than watching him run around, like, what was entertaining about this Gophers season? Like, very, very little. But bad season in my opinion. Very bad loss today. Could have said, let's say you win this game and go 4-3. Even if though it's against a bad Wisconsin team, you win this game, you go 4-3. Maybe you don't even play in a bowl game. But then you got a nice trophy. I mean, I guess they got the chair right from Nebraska, but who cares? You would have had a nice trophy win to go into the off season. They always say everything's good for recruiting. Well, we haven't found out yet if PJ Fleck can recruit, because he won with a lot of Jerry Kill guys, and that's another thing. It's like you got to recruit and you got to coach, and I'm not saying Fleck can't do either of those things, but the jury is still out a little bit on the guy. So, oh well, it sucks. You just want to have bragging rights over your rivals once in a while too. It's like, and we didn't get that, and we've only gotten that once in 8 tries with Fleck, and that's got to improve next year and going forward. And hopefully next year's just better overall.